Tom stood at the edge of the landing platform, his bag slung over his shoulder. Behind him, the shuttle rose back into the sky, leaving him alone on the surface of the alien station. The metal floor beneath his boots hummed quietly. Above him, the glass roof showed a deep purple sky filled with unfamiliar stars. This was not Earth. This was Tirana 6, a joint research base shared by humans and the alien race called the Lunari. It was a peaceful mission, part of a cultural exchange. Scientists, builders, and teachers from both species had come to learn from each other. Tom was just a technician, sent to assist in plant care and station repairs. He didn't expect anything special. He didn't think his life was going to change. A tall alien woman waited near the garden dome ahead. She wore soft blue robes, and her skin had a faint shimmer. Her hair was long, flowing like silver blue silk, and it moved slightly even without wind. She stood still, watching him with calm, bright eyes. Tom stepped forward and gave a small wave. "Hi, I'm Tom, new tech guy," he said, trying to smile. The woman nodded slowly. "I am Vera. I guide the Eastern Dome. You will assist me." Her voice was smooth, almost like music, but her expression was calm and unreadable. Tom followed her through the curved halls of the dome. It was a massive greenhouse with glowing trees, colorful flowers, and tall vines hanging from the ceiling. The air was fresh, and small floating lights hovered above the plants. "This is amazing," Tom whispered, eyes wide. "You really built all this?" Vera didn't answer right away. She walked beside him, hands gently brushing against the plants. "These are living memories," she said. "Each plant is part of our past." Tom nodded, unsure what to say. He felt small next to her. She was graceful and quiet, unlike anyone he had ever worked with before. He wanted to make a good impression, even if he felt out of place, trying to break the silence. He looked at her and smiled again. "You have great hair," he said casually. He meant it as a friendly comment, something simple, something nice. But Vera stopped walking. She didn't look at him. Her shoulders stiffened, and her eyes stared forward. Unblinking, Tom froze. "I didn't mean anything strange, just a compliment," he said quickly. Still no response. Vera turned her head, slightly, just enough to glance at him. Her face was unreadable, but her voice was suddenly lower, almost serious. "I must return to my work." Without another word, she walked away between the vines, disappearing into the greenery. The lights dimmed slightly as she left. Tom stood alone. He rubbed the back of his neck, feeling awkward. "That didn't go well," he whispered to himself. "Did I say something wrong?" The rest of the day passed slowly. Tom kept working, fixing a broken irrigation system and checking sensor panels. Vera didn't come back. Another alien assistant handed him a small meal cube and nodded politely but didn't speak. That night, Tom sat in his new room, small but clean, with a clear window that showed the stars. He couldn't stop thinking about the moment with Vera, back on Earth. Telling someone they had great hair was just a normal thing. It wasn't personal. It wasn't serious. But maybe here, things were different. The next morning, when Tom entered the dome again, the air felt heavier. The lights were dimmer. He heard soft footsteps, and when he looked up, several Lunari workers passed by, whispering quietly. One of them, a younger alien with bright green eyes, gave Tom a curious look. It wasn't angry. It wasn't rude. But it was definitely different. Tom frowned. Something had changed. When Vera finally appeared again, she did not greet him. She simply started checking the plants. Tom followed her lead, not sure if he should say anything. He stayed quiet, just doing his work. During the group meeting later that day, Vera surprised him. She sat beside him at the table. There were 10 people in the room, 5 humans, 5 Lunari. They discussed the soil samples and plant health. When someone asked Vera a question, she didn't speak first. She turned to Tom and said softly, "You may answer." Tom blinked. "Me?" She nodded. Once Tom tried his best to explain the technical details. When he finished, the others nodded, and the meeting moved on. But Tom could feel it again, that shift in the air. Eyes watching him, whispers at the edge of hearing. Something was happening, and he didn't understand what it meant. After the meeting, Tom stepped into the hallway and leaned against the wall. "What's going on?" he muttered. "All I said was that she had nice hair." Just then, another human walked by Mira, a language specialist who had been working with the Lunari longer than most. She paused and looked at him. "Did you really say that to Vera?" Tom sighed. "Yes. Was that bad?" Mira's eyes widened slightly. She stepped closer. "Oh, Tom," she said, "you might have just caused a big cultural event." Tom stared at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Mira crossed her arms. "Compliments mean different things in their culture, especially about appearance. You didn't just say something nice. You said something sacred." Tom blinked. "Sacred?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes. Complimenting a Lunari woman's hair isn't normal. It's part of an ancient bonding ritual. It's not done unless you have very serious intentions." Tom's mouth opened, then closed. He leaned back against the wall, stunned. "I just got here." Mira smiled slightly. "Well, it looks like you made an impression." Tom looked down. The hallway where Vera had walked, her silver blue hair shimmered even in memory. "I didn't mean to," he said quietly, but somewhere deep inside, he started to wonder what if the words had meaning after all. The morning air inside the dome was filled with a soft mist. The lights above the plants shone gently like small moons. Tom walked slowly down the path between the rows of tall glowing trees. His boots made light steps on the stone floor. He didn't feel like rushing. Something in the air felt different now, since his words to Vera the day before. Things hadn't been the same. When he entered the dome, the Lunari workers looked at him in a strange way. Their faces were calm, but their eyes followed him. Some whispered softly as he passed. One gave a respectful nod and lowered his head slightly, a gesture Tom had never seen before. He smiled nervously and kept walking. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Definitely not normal." He reached his workstation near the water systems. As he began checking the filters, he heard quiet footsteps behind him. Turning around, he saw Vera approaching. She looked as graceful as ever, her long hair flowing behind her like a river of light. Tom straightened up. "Good morning," he said politely. Vera paused for a second, then gave a small nod. "Morning." It was the first time she had spoken to him since the compliment. Tom waited, unsure if she would say anything else. But she just walked past him and began checking the root systems nearby. She didn't avoid him completely, but she kept a little distance. Tom sighed and returned to his task. He didn't want to push her. If what Mira said was true, then his words had carried deep meaning in her culture. He had meant to say something serious, but now it was too late to take it back. A few minutes later, Mira entered the dome carrying a data pad. She smiled when she saw Tom. "You're already working?" she asked. Tom nodded, trying to stay useful. She looked around and then leaned closer. "I did some checking last night," she said. "Your little compliment caused quite a stir." Tom raised an eyebrow. "What kind of stir?" Mira held up her hand and counted on her fingers. "First, Vera went silent for hours, which is rare for her. Second, the council monitors asked for a recording of your interaction. Third, someone reported that she didn't sleep during her meditation cycle." Tom's eyes widened. "She didn't sleep?" Mira nodded. "She stayed up watching the memory pool." "That's like sitting by a sacred lake and thinking about life choices." Tom looked across the garden. Vera was kneeling near a plant with blue leaves, carefully trimming it with glowing tools. Her face looked calm, but Tom could see her hands move slower than usual. "What does all this mean?" he asked. Mira crossed her arms. "It means she's trying to decide if she accepts what she believes was a serious proposal." Tom nearly dropped the tool in his hand. "I didn't propose anything, but she thinks you did," Mira replied, "and so do others." Tom looked around. Sure enough, a group of Lunari near the far gate were looking in his direction. When he met their eyes, they quickly looked away. "This is going out of control," he whispered. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you need to understand what you said. Complimenting hair is sacred because the Lunari believe hair carries emotional memory. Only close family or bonded partners are allowed to speak of it with kindness. It means you see the person fully and accept their spirit. Tom stared at her. I just thought her hair looked cool. I believe you, Mira said. But this is not Earth. Here, words shape more than thoughts. They shape future paths. Later that day, Tom joined a mixed team to inspect the eastern ventilation tunnel. As they walked, he noticed that some Lunari began addressing him with a new title, one who spoke the thread. He didn't understand it at first, but the way they said it felt respectful. Even the alien commander, Zirin, looked at him differently. Zirin was tall, sharp-eyed, and always serious, but during the inspection, he stopped beside Tom and asked quietly, "Do you accept what you began?" Tom blinked. I'm not sure what I began." Zirin gave a slow nod. Reflection is wise. After the inspection, Tom returned to the dome to find Vera waiting near the memory vines. She stood tall, her silver-blue hair catching the soft light. Her hands were behind her back, and her expression was thoughtful. "Tom," she said softly, "may I speak with you alone?" He nodded. Of course. They walked deeper into the garden, where the plants were taller and the lights dimmer. A gentle breeze from the vents made the leaves sway. It felt like they were walking in a dream. Vera stopped near a tree with glowing petals. "I was surprised," she began. "Your words reached deeper than you may know." Tom looked at her. "I didn't mean to disrespect you. On Earth, it's just a compliment." Vera turned her eyes toward the tree. "In my culture, when someone speaks of our hair, it means they see us without the veil of silence. It means connection, trust, even fate." Tom nodded slowly. "I didn't know, but I meant no harm." "I did not feel harmed," Vera said. She turned to face him fully. "I felt something else, a warmth I did not expect from a human." They stood quietly for a moment. The lights above them flickered gently like fireflies. "I don't know what this means for us," Tom said honestly, "but I respect you, and I want to understand." Vera reached out and touched one of the glowing petals. "Then let us walk this path slowly." Together, Tom smiled a little. "That sounds fair." As they walked back toward the main dome, neither of them spoke, but something had changed between them. There was still distance, still mystery, but there was also something new, a quiet thread of trust. The whispers continued that day, but now they felt different, not full of confusion, but curiosity, interest, and perhaps even hope. Tom sat in the quiet study room that evening, a soft glow coming from the panels on the walls. The room was built for humans, but he felt like a stranger inside it. His thoughts kept going back to Vera, her voice, her calm eyes, the way she said they should walk the path slowly. But what kind of path was it? He had said 5 words, a compliment. That was all. Yet now, everyone on the base acted like he had started something big, something serious, something ancient. Tom needed answers. He tapped on his communicator and called Mira, the human language specialist. A moment later, she arrived with her data tablet and a tired smile. "You again," she said. Sitting across from him, "More questions?" Tom nodded. "I need to know everything about what I said. Not just the meaning, everything." Mira opened her tablet and scrolled through notes. "All right," she said. "Let's begin with the basics." She took a breath. In Lunari tradition, the body is seen as a vessel, but the hair is seen as the thread of memory. It carries emotions and energy. It's deeply personal. That's why they keep it long and untouched. Only family members or chosen bonds are allowed to speak about it. Tom listened closely. "When you said her hair was great," Mira continued, "you didn't just say she looked nice. You told her without knowing that you see her fully, and you accept her inner self." It's a phrase only said in what they call the thread ceremony. Tom blinked. "Thread ceremony?" Mira nodded. "It's a bonding ritual, ancient. It happens rarely now, only between pairs who choose to walk through life as one." Tom leaned back in his seat, staring at the ceiling. "And I just said it by accident?" Mira nodded again. "That's why she was shocked, but also why she didn't reject you. If she had been insulted, she would have spoken to the council." Tom frowned. "So she didn't feel insulted?" "No," Mira said. "She felt something else. That's why she stayed awake by the memory pool. Tom rubbed his hands together. What do I do now? That depends, Mira said. You have a choice. You can clear the confusion by speaking to the council and explaining it was a mistake. Or you can continue learning what this path means. Learn about her, about their way. Tom thought for a long time. Then he said, I don't want to hurt her, but I also don't want to lie. I want to understand. Mira smiled. Then start with listening. Ask her the story of her hair. If she answers, it means she trusts you. The next day, Tom walked into the garden dome again. This time, he wasn't nervous. He had a purpose. Vera was kneeling beside a group of soft-leaf plants, gently pruning them. Her hands moved like wind, soft and smooth. Tom stepped closer. Good morning, he said. She looked up and gave a small nod. Morning. He sat on a low stone near her. For a moment, they worked side by side without speaking. Then Tom turned to her. May I ask you something? Vera looked at him, curious. Can you tell me the story of your hair? She blinked. Her eyes shimmered slightly in the garden light. She stayed silent for a few seconds. Then she spoke. I was born during the season of mist, she said. Our elders say that children born in that season carry deep emotions. My hair began to change color at a young age from dark blue to silver. It was rare. Some said it was a sign of strong memory. Tom listened without interrupting. When I was young, Vera continued, I lost someone close to me, a sibling. After that, I decided to become a guardian of living memory. That's why I care for plants. Every vine, every leaf holds a story. Tom looked at her hair, soft and flowing like light. He now understood it wasn't just beautiful, it was filled with her past, her emotions, her choices. She added, I have never allowed anyone to speak of my hair, not even among my kind. Tom was silent. Then you came, she said, and you spoke the words without knowing. It was strange, but it felt honest. I meant it. Tom said, even if I didn't know the meaning. I saw you, and I wanted to say something kind. Vera smiled gently. Kindness is powerful, but now it has meaning. To others, and maybe to me. Later that day, during a joint research meeting, Tom was asked to share his findings about the water filters. He stood up and gave his report clearly. The Lunari listened carefully. Even the commander, Zirin, seemed impressed. But something else happened after the meeting. As Tom walked out of the hall, a Lunari elder approached him. She was old, her hair nearly white, and her movements slow but respectful. You are the one who spoke the thread, she said. Tom nodded. Yes, I'm told that's true. She studied him closely. Then you must face the test of intent. Tom frowned. What's that? It is the way our people know the heart behind the words, she said. If you are to continue this bond, even slowly, you must pass the test. Tom felt his chest tighten. And if I fail, then the thread fades, the elder said. No anger, no shame, only silence. Tom thought of Vera's eyes, her story, her voice. He nodded. Then I accept. The elder touched her forehead. Prepare yourself. The path ahead is not easy. But if your heart is true, the memory vines will show the way. That night, Tom stood alone in the garden. Vera came to him, her expression calm. You agreed to the test, she said. I did, Tom replied. Vera took a small crystal from her pocket. It glowed gently in her palm. Then you will need a guide, she said. Let me walk with you. Tom looked at her and nodded. Thank you. They walked forward, together, into the inner garden where the memory vines grew thickest. The test was waiting. But so was the truth. Tom stood beside Vera in the hydroponic dome, holding a small earth plant in his hand. Its green leaves were bright and soft. It was called peace root, a common herb on Earth. Nothing special, but today, it felt important. Will it survive? Here? Vera asked as she leaned forward, studying it with her large blue eyes. It should. Tom answered, as long as the temperature is right and the water is clean. They had been working together for days now. Since the misunderstanding over his words about her hair, something had changed between them. The awkwardness was gone. They no longer avoided each other. In fact, They started to enjoy each other's company. They shared stories, small, simple ones. Tom told her about rainstorms on Earth. Vera described the floating gardens of her homeworld. They began to laugh, talk, and trust. Today was the start of a new project. A shared garden between humans and Lunari, a mix of both cultures. A symbol of peace. Vera placed her hand gently on the soil bed. We call this project Ramelin. It means hope rooted. Tom liked that. They placed the peace root into the soil together. Vera's hand brushed against his. For a moment, they both froze, then smiled slightly and moved on. The news of the garden spread across the station. At first, some humans were confused. Why are we planting alien roots next to Earth food? One worker grumbled. Because we live together now, Tom answered calmly. Others were curious. A few Lunari approached Tom directly to ask how he made Earth seeds sprout so fast. He answered every question with patience, even the rude ones. Commander Zirin called him for a short meeting. You're gaining attention, she said in a neutral voice. Is that a problem? Not yet, but some believe you're getting too close. Tom sat still. I'm not here to divide. I'm trying to build something that matters. Zirin stared at him, then nodded once. Then keep going. Just don't forget who you are. I won't. Back in the garden dome, things were growing fast. Vines curled gently along the frame. Flowers with soft lights bloomed next to earth herbs. Vera pointed to a tall stalk. This plant only grows when it feels trust. Tom raised his brow. Feels trust? How? It responds to the air, to voices, to peace in the room. Tom knelt and spoke softly near it. You're safe here. The stalk moved only slightly, but it bent gently in his direction. Vera looked surprised. It likes you. Tom smiled. I'm trying my best. Late one evening, Tom stayed behind after the others left. He walked through the garden slowly, taking it all in, the blend of colors, the balance. It felt alive in a way machines never did. Vera returned a few minutes later, carrying a small container. What's that? Tom asked. A Lunari drink, made from boiled leaves. Calms the mind. They sat on a bench near the growing pool and shared it. Vera took a sip, then looked at him. Why did you say that about my hair? Tom looked at her, surprised. You remember that, of course. I just thought it looked amazing. Natural. Not like the styles on Earth. It was meant as a kind thing. She tilted her head. In my culture, saying that is very rare. It means deep respect, maybe even attraction. Tom rubbed the back of his neck. Then I said more than I meant to. She smiled gently. Or maybe you said exactly what you meant, without knowing the weight of it. They both fell quiet. The moment full but not heavy. Then Vera added, I didn't expect it, but it made me think. Think what? That maybe humans have. Their own kind of beauty. Their own kind of courage. Tom looked down at his boots, a little shy. I'm just trying to help. You are, she said, and it matters. The next morning, something unusual happened. One of the Lunari scientists requested Tom's help. Our nutrient line is blocked, the scientist said. We heard. You understand both systems. Tom followed the group to their lab. Inside, he saw a tangled mess of human pipes and Lunari crystal tubes. The problem was clear, and he got to work. As he fixed the issue, he explained each step. He used simple words, no showing off. One Lunari engineer, older and serious, watched him closely. You speak with your hands, the engineer said. Tom chuckled. I guess I do. We need more like you. Tom looked up. You already have them. They just need someone to listen. By the end of the day, the garden had doubled in size. Human workers began offering their own plants. Lunari brought glowing seeds. A shared board was put up, where both groups could write messages and ideas. At the top, Vera wrote a phrase in her language. What does it say? Tom asked. It says, together we grow, root and soul. Tom nodded. That's perfect. As the lights dimmed and evening came again, Tom stood with Vera one more time. Do you think this will last? He asked. Vera didn't answer. Right away, she stepped forward, touched the stalk that had once bent toward Tom. It bent again. She turned to him. Yes, I believe it already has. The inner garden of the Lunari Dome was different from all the other areas Tom had seen. It was quiet, darker, and filled with tall memory vines that reached up to the glass roof. The vines moved slowly, almost like they were alive, breathing. In the silence, Tom walked beside Vera. Her silver-blue hair glowed faintly in the soft light from the glowing orbs above. She held the crystal in her hand, and every few steps, she touched it gently against the vines. Each time, the vines moved. To let them pass. This place is sacred, she said. Only those with true purpose may enter. Tom nodded. I'm ready. Vera stopped in front of a large circle made of stones and living roots. In the center was a pool of still water. The surface reflected not just the ceiling above but also memories. Moments flickered in the water like silent films, laughter, tears, voices from the past. Vera turned to him. This is the start of the test of intent. The vines will show you things from your own heart. Some memories will be real, some will be shaped by emotion, but they will all be yours. Tom took a slow breath. And what must I do? Walk through them, Vera said. Face each one. You cannot lie. Not here. If you hide the truth, the vines will close. Tom nodded again. And if I reach the end? Then your intent will be known, she said softly. He stepped into the circle. The air changed. The silence deepened. The vines moved slowly around him, forming a path ahead. He followed it without looking back. The first memory appeared. As a soft glow in front of him, slowly, it became clear. He saw himself as a young boy, sitting alone in a small backyard on Earth. It was raining, and he held a broken toy in his hand. His father had left recently. His mother worked long hours. He had no one to talk to. He remembered that day. He remembered the cold feeling in his chest, the loneliness. Suddenly, the child version of himself looked up. Why did you never tell anyone how you felt? The voice asked. Tom swallowed hard. Because I didn't want to make things worse. I thought staying quiet would keep everyone peaceful. The vines shifted. The path opened again. He walked forward. The second memory was brighter. It showed Tom as a young man working on an old research ship. He was arguing with a team leader. They shouted at each other about a repair error. Then he saw himself walking away, choosing silence instead of finishing the conversation. Why did you walk away? The voice asked. Tom closed his eyes. Because I was afraid. I didn't believe I could win the argument. I didn't believe I was right. So I stayed quiet again. The vines moved. The path remained open. The third memory was recent. It was the day he met Vera. He saw himself again, standing in the garden, smiling nervously. He heard his own voice. You have great hair. Then silence. The image stayed longer this time. He could see Vera's reaction, how she froze, how her expression changed, how her eyes widened. The voice asked, why did you say it? Tom stood still. Because I wanted to make her smile. I didn't know the meaning, but I saw her, and something inside me wanted to reach out. The vines swayed gently. The path ahead brightened. Next came a scene Tom did not expect. It wasn't a memory. It was a possibility. He saw Vera, standing alone in the garden, her back to him. She looked smaller, lonelier. A voice whispered, if you walk away now, she will be safe. She will return to her own world. She will forget you. Tom took a step forward. No, I don't want her to be alone, even if we're different, even if it's hard. The vines opened again. At last, he reached the final part of the path. A soft light surrounded a tall tree in the center of the chamber. Its branches were made of light and memory, each glowing with soft color. Vera stood beside the tree, waiting. You have passed the test, she said. Tom stepped beside her. It was harder than I thought. Vera looked at him. You faced your truth. That is not easy. He looked up at the tree. Is that the tree of bonding? She nodded. It holds the past of all who spoke the thread. Tom reached out and touched one of the glowing leaves. It shimmered and changed color from soft blue to warm silver. Vera placed her hand on the leaf beside his. You still have a choice, she said. This test only showed your heart. It does not force you to take the next step. Tom turned to face her. Then tell me, what does the next step mean? She looked at him calmly. It means walking together, not just here, but in our lives. It means learning from each other, sharing pain and joy. It is not simple, but it is real. Tom looked into her eyes. He thought of everything: the whispers, the traditions, the quiet connection between them. And then he said, I want to keep walking with you. Vera's eyes softened. Then we begin, she said. When they returned to the outer garden, the other Lunari were waiting. So were the humans. Commander Zirin stepped forward. Has the test of intent been completed? He asked. Vera nodded. It has. His heart is true. Zirin turned to Tom. Then we recognized the bond. You may walk your path together. There was no loud cheering, no celebration, only quiet respect. But for Tom, it meant more than any celebration. It meant he had stepped into a new world and been accepted. As the garden lights rose above them, Tom and Vera walked side by side between the memory vines, not as strangers, but as something new. The sky above the Tirana 6 station was turning a soft purple, a sign that the station's cycle was moving toward rest hours. Inside the garden dome, the plants gave off a calm glow, and a soft breeze passed through the leaves. Everything felt peaceful, but inside Tom's mind, the thoughts were louder than ever. He had passed the test of intent. The vines had accepted him. Vera had walked with him, believed in him, and offered him the next step. But now came the real question: would he accept the bond? A formal decision had to be made. The Lunari Council had prepared a private ceremony. Nothing loud, nothing fancy, just a quiet moment of truth in front of a few witnesses. Tom had been given a day to reflect. He sat on a bench near the memory pond, staring into the water. He saw tiny reflections of moments from the test, of Vera's face, of her voice saying, Then we begin. Vera, the human language expert, walked up behind him with a cup of warm liquid. You look like someone carrying 2 planets on your back, she said gently. Tom gave a small smile. It feels like that. Mira sat beside him. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for. I know, Tom replied. But that's the thing. I'm not scared of Vera. I'm scared I won't be enough. I'm just a human technician from Earth. She's a cultural guardian of her people. Mira nodded. She chose to walk beside you. That means more than any title. Tom looked up. What if I mess things up later? Then you learn together, Mira said. That's what the bond means. Not being perfect, just being true. Tom took a deep breath. The time for the ceremony was near. Later, the inner garden was quiet and ready. The circle of stones and roots had been cleaned around it. A few selected Lunari and humans stood in silence. Commander Zirin was there. Mira stood off to the side, her hands folded. A few plants gave off a soft white light, just enough to see clearly. Vera stood at the center of the circle, waiting calmly. Her silver-blue hair flowed softly behind her. Her robe had small glowing threads woven into it, symbols of her peoples. Stories. Tom stepped forward slowly. His heart beat steady but strong. Vera looked at him and spoke first. You came to this place as a stranger. You entered my world with soft steps and honest words. You saw what you did not understand, and still, you chose to stay. Tom nodded. You showed me your world with patience. You let me walk beside you. I came here to fix machines, but I found something much more. Vera took a small leaf from the sacred vine and held it in both hands. This is the binding leaf. She said, if you take it, your words become real. If you don't, there is no shame. Tom reached out and accepted the leaf. Then he spoke. I see you. I respect your path. I don't know everything, but I want to learn. I want to walk with you, not as a visitor, but as one who shares the journey. The garden grew quiet. The vines round the circle shifted gently. Vera placed her hand over his. Then, let it be known. The thread has been spoken, and now it is shared. The light in the garden glowed slightly brighter, as if even the plants understood what had happened. After the ceremony, Tom and Vera walked alone through the garden paths. The others had returned to their quarters. The lights above dimmed. As the station shifted into rest cycle, you spoke from your heart, Vera said softly. I meant every word, Tom replied. They stopped near a pool where small silver fish swam through glowing reeds. Vera looked into the water. My people will now see you differently. Some will respect the bond. Others may not understand. Tom nodded. That's okay. I didn't come here to be liked. I came here to work. But now, I stay for something more. She looked at him. Are you afraid of what's ahead? A little. Tom admitted. But I think it's a good kind. Of fear. Vera smiled. The kind that makes you grow. Yes, he said. That kind. They sat near the pool for a while, not speaking, just sharing the silence. The world around them was peaceful. No noise. No rush. Just the quiet rhythm of two lives slowly joining. The next day, Tom reported to the command deck. Commander. Zirin greeted him with a small nod. The bomb was accepted, Zirin said. You now hold a position of dual-voice human by birth, Lunari by connection. Tom blinked. What does that mean? It means you will be asked to assist in matters of cooperation, Zirin said. You are a bridge now. Tom nodded slowly. I'll do my best. Zirin handed him a data pad. Start by reviewing the joint energy plan. You and Vera will oversee its growth section. Tom smiled. Understood. He felt something shift. In his heart, it was a new kind of responsibility, not just work, but purpose. That evening, Vera met Tom in the Eastern Dome. The sun lamps were set to a soft golden color. The plants looked warm and calm. She held out a small cup filled with water from the memory pond. This is shared water, she said. We drink it to honor new paths. Tom took the cup. They drank together. Then she leaned a little closer and whispered, Thank you. For what? Tom asked. For not turning away, she said. Many would have. Tom looked at her, glowing eyes, at the hair that started it all. I didn't turn away, he said, because something told me it was the right path, even before I knew where it led. Vera reached out and gently touched his hand. Their journey had begun, and it was just the beginning. The Tirana 6 station was awake again. The artificial sunrise bathed the dome in soft golden light. Plants began to open their glowing petals, and the air was fresh with the scent of dew and clean energy. Tom stood beside Vera at the edge of the Eastern Dome. In front of them was a new garden section, half of it grown from earth seeds, the other half from Lunari roots. The two sides now mixed naturally, their colors blending in a quiet harmony. Vera took a deep breath. It's beautiful. Tom nodded. We planted it together. That's why, for the last 10 days, they had worked side by side, building this new section. It was more than just plants. It was a sign to everyone on the station humans and Lunari could build something real together. Even those who had doubts before were beginning to change. Commander Zirin had personally visited the garden and approved the next stage of expansion. A Lunari artist had painted a mural on one wall, showing two figures, one human, one Lunari standing beside a tree with silver leaves and green branches. Below it were the words, written in both languages, from thread to root, from silence to bond. Tom smiled every time he walked past it. One afternoon, Tom was asked to speak at a small cultural gathering. It was not formal, but it was important. Humans and Lunari sat together in the wide hall, listening as different members shared stories, music, and lessons from their home worlds. When it was Tom's turn, he stepped up slowly. He felt nervous, but not afraid. He looked at the crowd. Before I came here, I thought I was just a technician. I thought my job was to fix broken things, machines, water lines, light panels. But I was wrong. I wasn't here to fix things. I was here to learn. He paused. I said 5 simple words to someone. You have great hair. On Earth. That's just a kind compliment. But here, those words meant something deeper. He looked toward Vera, who sat quietly near the front. Because of those words, I began a journey I never expected. I saw how powerful simple actions can be. I saw how respect opens doors. I learned that real connection comes when you try to understand someone completely different from you. There was silence in the room, not from boredom, but deep attention. Tom smiled again. I don't have all the answers, but I know this. Peace is not just about agreements. It's about trust. And trust begins with one step, one word, even one mistake if you're brave enough to learn from it. When he finished, there was no loud applause, just a quiet moment of unity that needed no sound. Later that night, Tom and Vera walked through the garden dome together. The stars above shone clearly through the glass roof. The silver moon of HFY cast a soft glow on the plants. Tom looked up. I never thought I'd end up here, among alien stars, with someone like you. Vera tilted her head. And now that you are here, he smiled. I don't want to be anywhere else. They walked in silence for a while. Then Vera said, Our people still have much to learn about each other. Tom nodded. True. But we've started. Vera paused beside a vine growing along the wall. It had both human and Lunari features, now earth flowers blooming among shimmering alien leaves. We call this vine Valari, she said. It means path of two. Tom reached out and gently touched one of the flowers. Then this is our vine. She looked at him. Yes, it is. Days passed, and word of their bond and the garden they built spread beyond the station. Messages came from nearby colonies and Earth research bases. Other Lunari stations began asking for plant samples. A few even asked to send representatives. To learn directly from them. Tom and Vera were no longer just workers. They were now symbols of unity. They were called thread bearers by some. Others simply referred to them as bridge pair. But Tom never let it get to his head. He still cleaned filters, still fixed lights, still helped water the plants. He believed peace was made not in big speeches, but in small, honest actions. Vera stayed beside him, calm, kind, always focused. She guided new workers with patience. She spoke gently to both humans and Lunari, making each feel heard together. They created more than a garden. They created a way forward. One evening, Vera brought Tom a gift. It was a small box made from Lunari bark, polished smooth. Inside was a folded strip of silver thread. What is it? Tom asked. It is a memory ribbon. Vera explained, worn by those who have walked through bonding and stayed true. Only one is made for each pair. Tom touched it gently. It's beautiful. Vera smiled. It carries part of your journey. It was woven by the vines in the inner garden. It remembers everything. Tom placed the ribbon on his wrist. It fit perfectly. I'll wear it always, he said. Then it will always grow with you, Vera replied. As the seasons passed on HFY, the garden expanded. New areas were added. More workers came. Some were young, some old, some full of questions, others full of dreams. Tom and Vera welcomed them all. Sometimes Tom would walk alone at night through the garden paths. He'd stop near the memory pool and look at his reflection. He'd remember the first day, the mistake, the silence, the surprise, and he would smile, because sometimes the biggest journeys begin with the smallest words.